Hi, good afternoon. Our group is 21 and we have three members in the group. The first member is Aditi Singh and me, Sagir Ahmed, and another is Nikhil Verma. Let's talk about the core issue. The Japanese original automated equipment manufacturer OEM faced on the major downfall based on their contributing natural disaster, and this is the two main reasons, which is averaging low production probability, and another one is was the risk bankruptcy. Potential cost of the benefits of Nissan response. The benefit present the brands of representation, improve the supply chain releases, encrypt the global collaboration, stress the energy responsible plan, and employee honor and loyalty. And the petitional cost is the financial cost, low sales and marketing share, operation description, insane the stills and burnout, and damages to equipment and their facilities. Potential involvement and considered in the response. Nation could have further disaster and its support base potential for the curricular competition, and it reduce the single region. This would be help the might of the import disaster and specific area. Advanced decision of the real-time monitoring, regular update and employee customers. Step, shareholder and would help the main tourist and transparency storage the communication in between, hoping the people to need the time and disaster and kept by the storage and community effective to communication and boost their company, reduce their customer loyalty. Now another colleague will discuss the next part.
Hello, I'm Aditi Singh and I'm going to present the next three slides. So I'll be presenting how Nissan could have prevented the risk of disruption in the supply chain. So first let's just talk about the disruption that was there. So um, Japan Japan's manufacturing unit was the only unit that was producing all the SKUs, whereas the manufacturing units which were located in UK, US, Mexico, China, and etc., they were only producing mediocre SKUs, and which was creating a limitation because after a disaster we had only those mediocre SKUs that were there in these international units. So there are few things that we can do to assess the risk disruption in the supply chain. So first is we need to identify the critical suppliers, like from where we are getting the major things in a car. Like for Nissan, if we talk about, for a car company, if we talk about from where we will get the engine, from where we get the tires and everything which is inside. And apart from that, if we go ahead, we need to understand from where, if Japan is tire 1, then from tire 10, tire 11, tire 9, the supply remains constant for each and every uh, SKU, just like the tire one. We need to maintain that consistency all over. Next is supply chains diversification. So it is multiple sourcing options in country-wise regional productivity hubs. So basically, we need to have multiple production chains, manufacturing chains all around the world, and where we actually produce all the SKUs, and not only mediocre ones or not only the one which are in demand. We need to keep it going. So we need all the SKUs which are there in a company or which can be in demand. There should also be real-time monitoring of inventories, if engine is going somewhere around in, for example, from UK to US, we need to know that there is that data, like we know that this is happening and this is happening right now. So how product line affects the response and recovery of disaster. So basically, the approach for Nissan was that we'll create those units that were in demand, and the other was for other SKUs, it was more of like whenever we'll get an order for it, we'll produce that particular SKU. So in this case, the positives were that we had simplified product line, actually reduced the complexity in the streamline approach, which allowed quicker adjustment and relocations of the resources when disruption occurred. And if I go on, if we talk about it in more detail, so basically if we had limited number of SKUs in the production line, we were able to prioritize, like if there are the things that are more in demand, we could have just prioritized it and got its parts in a different location in case of disaster. And if we have a streamlined simplified operational unit, it helps to do the decision making much faster. But there is a limitation which obviously comes with it, as it was a simplified operational unit, we were focusing on the most demanded SKUs. This actually made it more difficult, as we had the parts for that in demand SKU, but not for the other ones, mediocre parts, or the ones in layman language, I would say, like the ones that could only be owned by the normal public who were, earning a little low than the higher one. Okay, and there could be potential supply chain vulnerabilities, as we are just focusing on the more demanded one. Uh, and if something happens to that, there won't be any other SKU to actually sell. So that was the problem. So let's just talk about the impact of operational changes made in 2012. So it helps to reduce the future disruption as well. So basically what happened was there was a enhance in supply chain, as we were not only concentrating on tier 1 facilities, but also tier 2, tier 3, and beyond that. And we were trying to maintain the consistency all over it, like if we are focusing on tier 1, we were giving the same attention to tier 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that happened. And basically there was more improved business continuity plan, like we had a action they had an action of plan ready, like if there was some disaster, they'll give power to the local managers, and they'll be able to make the decisions quickly. There should be like communication between the employees, and among the employees the training should be given, so that was also happening. So, okay, this was like this reduced the future disruptions, but this also affected negatively, if you say, if like if we are constantly monitoring tier 2, 3, 4, like the way we want, like if we want to maintain the consistency, like we want in tier 1, and we are monitoring them as well, that is taking more and more time and more manpower. There was also a higher cost that was being invested, as after the 2012 operation changes, there were things that not things, but the discussion was that they should open more um, manufacturing units abroad, and not only Japan, as if there is a disaster in Japan, whole unit will be in disruption. But if like they shift their 90% manufacturing towards these international units, they'll have more sources after the disaster, and they don't need to rely on that. So, but the takeoff is that okay, there is a higher cost that is being invested, but this will only be like this is a long-term investment. If you see, if we will see our short-term goals, it can lead to crisis like that happened. Like Nissan tried to operate from Japan itself, and after the 2011 disaster, they couldn't operate in that region in Japan. That was their tier 1 facility. So if we like put up more manufacturing units internationally, they will have more uh, units to work with later, and it is very nice because they will have a long-term working uh, facility. The centralized and decentralized control can like the training of being able to get out of the disaster can actually help. uh, Centralized control. So basically, you are giving away the knowledge to be able to rescue yourself from a disaster, and the decentralized control. Basically, if in centralized control, you are giving the rescuing knowledge to all over your employees, but the decentralized control system is that you give the power to your managers to take action in case of disasters. They don't need to look up to their bosses of those units to take an action. They can like put away the important stuff somewhere else which is important for the company. Each and every manufacturing unit should always focus on the quality and not the cost. I mean, cost is important, but if you're giving quality products to your customers, it impacts in a greater way, because then there will be uh, the demand is higher for quality products and not bad products, I mean. So yeah.
Hello, my name is Nikhil Verma. So now we're gonna talk about the future planning of this brand, Nissan. So going forward, after the disaster, like 2 years or 3 years after that, Nissan's commitment to boost local production in the America will reduce reliance on Japan-based manufacturing. Which means if they're gonna start making their cars in America, this will reduce the stress on Japan itself, the manufacturing unit based in Japan. And the second point, enhanced supply chain visibility and risk management aims to mitigate risks like single source dependencies. Nissan plans to enhance its crisis response by investing in advanced planning and simulation tools. The build to stock strategy for popular models like GTR, Godzilla, GT, R34, R33 will keep lead time short for high margin vehicles, while the build to order approach for other models will allow production flexibility in response to demand changes. Development of stronger suppliers relationship by actively sharing risk management and continuity plans. Sustainability and environmental considerations. So these are the points that should be taken in consideration moving forward after the disaster. So now we're going to talk about the major threats the company would face if they go successful. Supply chain distribution disruptions from natural disasters, supply chain concentration risks beyond tier 1 suppliers, technological and competitive disruptions, currency exchange and economic fluctuations. And if they fail in these process, the following steps can be taken from the for improvement. If the company struggles to implement a resilient supply chain across all tiers, it would need to enhance its suppliers risk assessment and visibility. If companies' flexibility in inventory and production response falters under a similar crisis, they would need to revisit their inventory strategy. If Nissan falls behind competitors in advancements, they need to work on their technologies and improve it. If their global disaster response does not perform as planned, they would need collaboration with international protocols and communication with them. So finally, the end, the big decisions that the firm needs to create or are advisory comments, better marketing strategy for their budget friendly cars. Like for middle class people, they have budget friendly cars. So if they market them good, there will be good sales in the countries. Better communication between their suppliers and retailers, gaining trust of customers on the basis of reliability. So, sourcing of spare parts in each and every manufacturing unit firsthand, taking customer feedbacks from customers to understand what company can improve in terms of product and services. And